All right, let's welcome our guest tonight. Welcome to the show, Regional Superintendent of Schools, Rob Werden. Good to see you, Rob.
Great to be here. I appreciate the invitation to be here. I'm just so excited. I can't stop smiling.
You told me you're a fan of the show.
I am, and I may have came to it a little bit late, but I went back and watched episodes, and I'm just a tremendous fan of anything that is pro Metro East or pro Madison County. That's as an elected official for Madison County, I really promote the heck out of Madison County, and so what you all are doing here is great for our kids. It's great for our community, and that's what I think we need more of.
Thank you very much for saying that. And we are as pro Madison County as you are, and we are also pro St. Clair County and Macoupin County and Monroe County and Clinton County and all the great counties. Jersey County, is that a county? I believe.
Yes.
Those
yes,
are all the
is.
great counties that make up the Metro East, and I'm obviously more familiar with some of them than others. But it's been a journey for me to learn more about the Metro East during the 6 years that I've done this. So anyway, we're here to talk about you tonight. So thank you for your kind words. First of all, what do you do as the Regional Superintendent of Schools? You're not here to fire me, right?
I am not. No, and a lot of people think I have a magic wand and I can go around and tell school districts what to do. That's not the case.
We thought you did.
I sometimes I let people think that, but it's not the case. I tell everybody my job is 50% politics, 50% education. So as an elected official, I'm elected countywide, and everybody gets to vote for me if you have a school district, if you reside in a school district that is within Madison County's region. So it goes back to the time, actually this office was founded in the 1860s. So there was, at that time, each county had a superintendent. So 105, 102 counties, I should know, in Illinois. And
just over 100.
Each one had its own individual superintendent, elected, and then ran the one-room schoolhouses, made sure that education, public education was thriving in our county, in all the counties. Eventually, it evolved and has been they downsized to where they became regions. So they combined counties. We in Madison County are actually fortunate enough that we still have a one-county region. St. Clair County has a one-county region, but you go to the north, you've got Macoupin, Greene, Jersey, Calhoun County that are all combined into Region 40, and it basically has to do with the population. So the legislators in Springfield decided back in 2011 when that was the last time that they pushed consolidation of regional superintendents. And they basically said you had to have a minimum of 60,000 people in your county or in your region to count. So we have close to 300,000 here in Madison County. St. Clair County is really close as well to that number. But some of the smaller counties, when you get out in the more rural areas, it's a struggle. So there's some that has 8 counties in a region. So basically we are the liaison between the State Board of Education and the local school districts. So the people that would be able to fire you all would be the ones that that are on your school board.
Okay, so say it again. You are the liaison between
the State Board of Education
okay.
and the local school districts. So the senators and state representatives pass laws, and then they give them to the Illinois State Board of Education, and they say, implement this, and then they will say, make rules and regulations, and then they hand them to us. We give them back down to the school districts, and then we have to make sure that they're following them, that their teachers are licensed properly, that they have the amount of professional development. You had your CPDUs, which are now professional development credits, all of those things that you really love to do as an educator.
Everybody loves those.
And we make sure that we make sure that you're in compliance with health, life, safety. So I have some folks that work for me that are inspectors that go around and check all the buildings and make sure that everybody is up to speed. You don't have any hot plates in your or microwaves plugged into your classrooms or refrigerators or all the things that
of course
tend to get hidden before my inspectors come.
Or an outlet plugged into an extension cord plugged into another extension cord plugged into a microwave. That's what you're looking for.
Yes, so Christmas lights or anything along those lines. Like there are strict health, life, and safety requirements that my office is in charge of enforcing. We also are in charge of giving out building permits. So anytime there's been a lot of construction going on here recently. So
all building permits?
All building permits for education facilities.
Oh, gotcha.
Now, if there are students in those buildings, then I have to sign off on those. So if it's a building that doesn't house students, then there are different rules for that. But like the new construction over here at Lincoln or Triads Middle School, my inspectors are have gone through and we work with them. Collinsville down at Caseyville, they built a new high school or new grade school, So we worked with them down there.
What about private schools?
Private schools are under their own own regulations. They go through the regular whatever city or county, whatever municipality they're in. Now they do have they as far as compliance, we work with all of the private schools, the parochial schools, and make sure that if they want to be accredited and recognized, I guess it's not accredited, but recognized by the state of Illinois, our office does do compliance visits for those as well. So we have a list. We work with I have a meeting once a year with all of the private and parochial schools. They all come to my office and we meet and I go over regulations because sometimes laws are passed that affect them as well. But they're not all of the private schools and public schools are on their recognized list. It's up to them whether they choose to want to be. The other thing that I started too was just recently I had a homeschool meeting with some of the folks that are in the homeschool community because they are tend to be a growing faction, and so I wanted to make sure that they knew we were a resource as well. So I am the regional superintendent of schools. It doesn't say regional superintendent of public schools. I'm the regional superintendent of schools. So if anything that has to do with education, I want to make sure that I'm a resource and I will be helpful to anybody in the county that has anything to do with education.
And the relationship between homeschool kids and schools is one that is dynamic in that it's growing and changing and evolving.
It constantly evolving and constant changes in different perspectives. And a lot of that came out of COVID. I think we've seen a lot of the homeschool community grow. A lot of the private school enrollments have gone up post-COVID. And those are they're here to stay. So we have to make sure, again, my goal is to make sure that students are educated. If you're a child that is supposed to be in school, we want you in school. And that's my job.
And if you want to be certified by the state, if you're homeschooling and you want to get certification by the state, you have to work with you?
No, right now, no, and I got to be very careful here because I don't.
Right, that's the hot topic.
It is a very hot topic, and I have actually learned a lot from the homeschool community. But basically, in Illinois, it's a very, I'm going to say, free state for homeschooling. Basically, all you have to do is tell me that you're being homeschooled, and then you can homeschool. So. Yeah, there's no registration process. There's no forms filled out. And that's part of the battle that went on last year. If you remember, it was a hot topic in the state legislature, and we had it came down to the county level. And so that's where I tried to make sure, again, I want to make sure no kids are falling through the cracks. I want to make sure that we have the ability to get every student an education. And we have some great kids, great families that are doing great jobs, and they were concerned. They didn't want the state overreaching into their business. And so they came out. I was at those meetings. I was trying to answer questions. I was working with them. And I also ended up asking a lot of questions myself and learning a lot from the homeschool community, which is why I led to having this meeting. And I just felt that it's good to build a dialogue. We may not always agree on everything, but if we're communicating and we're talking with each other, then we can build on that. Next time we may not agree this time. Next time we might agree, and we can work together to help each other. And that's the way I think we need more of in local government, county government, state government, and of course federal government as well.
That's what I got to say right there. That is spoken like a true politician and a righteous American, man. I'm on board with all that.
I appreciate that, and yeah, that's like I said, 50% politics, 50% education, and that's what I do. Sometimes I have to put on the politics hat, but I try to keep the politics I try to stay as neutral as I can for the most part.
You don't have to be. Yeah, you don't have to declare a side in your position.
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and I tell everybody I'm a tight-ass Republican, and everybody knows
Okay.
that. I'm very fiscally conservative. I've got I feel like a good track record of running our office with fiscal conservativeness, and so I'm very I am who I am. I've been that way my whole life. I was raised that way. In education, there's not a lot of Republicans that are educators, and so this job, when you do have to declare. It took some soul search. I had to come forth and kind of spill my guts. A lot of times when I was in the classroom, I just kept my mouth shut and just kind of, did my thing and lived my life like I wanted to. But when you become a public servant and you want to go out and serve the people, that's one of those things I had to do. I had to make a stand, and I've been a Republican my whole life. I saw Ronald Reagan when I was, 10 years old, 9 years old. He was running in 1980. I ran over to Greenville and saw him when he was on a tour. That kind of changed my life, put me on a trajectory, and it grew from then. And I've actually seen every president since then. I've in person, I've been able to see every president since then, except for the first George H.W. Bush. I did not get to see him. I've shaken a few of their hands over the years. I've been able to just I've been fortunate, and politics is such a interesting field. It's such a combative field at times, but if we can try to look at things from the other guy's perspective and just find some kind of common ground, then I feel like we can work together, and we need to be able to do that, just like I said earlier. I do love politics, and I can work with and talk to everybody. I try to take pride in that.
How about some regional superintendent of schools trivia? Which former Madison County regional superintendent of schools was my 7th grade basketball coach?
Can you give me a hint? What district?
Grigsby.
That'd be Harry Briggs.
Harry Briggs. How about that? Which regional superintendent of schools' daughter played tennis for me?
Ooh.
Come on, that's easy.
I'm
His first name's the same as his last. Cullen.
Cullen.
So two of his daughters, Maddie and Alicia, both played tennis for me.
Now he was assistant superintendent.
Oh, so that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm wrong.
My brain was racking it.
Sorry.
But yes, Cullen, and my niece,
I thought he became superintendent after. No.
He became the superintendent of Venice School District.
Okay.
So he left the assistant superintendent when Dr. Diber came in.
Okay.
And then
you're right. I'm sorry.
And he was
then you had family play for me too.
Yes. Amanda Niebuhr and Ashley Niebuhr both played.
Very good. And Andrew played for at least a year or two.
Yeah.
Great kid. You kind of look like Andrew. A couple times when I've seen you, like you kind of remind me a little bit of Andrew.
Well,
okay. How often must you be elected as the regional superintendent of schools?
Every 4 years. It's a
like the president
term. Yep.
Is it on the same calendar?
It's on the opposite year, so it is off year, I should say, not the opposite year, but off year election. So I was elected in 2018, but the funny thing is, because we're based on the school year and the calendar, the state's calendar, so I'm elected in November. I was elected in November of 2018, but I wasn't sworn into office until July 1 of 2019. So that was technically the start of the next school year.
23, 27.
So
you're due up again in a couple of years.
Yes. But I'm fortunate enough that I'm going to be able to retire.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah,
so you're not.
This
is it.
I've made the announcement that this is my last term. Actually, the paperwork and everything's filled out. My wife is going to be running for this position.
Okay.
And so she's a superintendent now at East Alton School District, and so. That's been it's been out there for a number of times, number of months now, and so we had to get all the petitions and all that, had to get all the signatures for her, and it was kind of interesting. The one of the funniest things was when we were collecting signatures, and she went to the door of somebody, and they said, "Yeah, we really need to get that bum out of there." You should know that it was my.
What did she say?
But
she said, "I agree."
She said, "You're right. Please sign here."
Yeah.
She's got the politic gene.
You're going to vote for her, right?
I am. Yeah, she's
You can-
got my
you can
full
declare.
and unwavering support.
How often were you opposed in those elections?
I've ran twice. The first time I was opposed. The second time I was unopposed. I much prefer unopposed, just because
Less stressful.
Yeah, it's a lot less stressful. A lot less fundraising required. All of those things that go into the politics side of it are it's a full-time job, and it's days and nights, and there's always a fundraiser. There's always an activity to be at. It's a good job, but it's you have to be on. You have to be on all the time, and you have to be on your best behavior. At least I have been, because I try to be an honorable public servant, and so that's things that you just constantly you're
Like owning your own business, man. You're always
yes.
You never really get away from it.
No, you're because you're wanting to project positivity for your brand or your business or yourself, and that's the way you have to be. I've always taken pride in the fact that I've engaged people, and I listen to people, and sometimes people call you at 8:00 at night and they want to talk to you, and you talk to them, you listen to them, and you try to help them with their problem, because they may have been working all day and they had an issue where their student had something that came up, and they get to talk to you. They call you at 8:00 at night. That's when you're on. You're on.
You love the job. I sense you love it.
I do. I do enjoy. I've loved everything about education, and I just feel fortunate. I know when you go back, like my mom's generation. My mom was born in 1933, and my sister, both my sisters went to college. I went to college. We were the first generation to go to college, and my mom always wanted to be a teacher, and she never got to be. So when my little sister and I went into education, she always explained that how fortunate we were to be able to be educators. So whenever I went to school as an educator, I felt fortunate. And really, my first year of teaching, I saw how many kids didn't have the upbringing or didn't have the luck that I had growing up. I had students who's had various different issues at home, and when they come to school and you see that firsthand as a teacher, you realize pretty quick, that's why my dad was rough on me. That's why my dad was strict.
Yeah, had rules.
Exactly. And
boundaries.
So you realize quickly how fortunate you are. And then I took the attitude of, my job now is to help people. I had it damn good at growing up, and so I want to help others to have that the best chance that they can make of it, because that's what we're all about in this country is opportunity. We don't guarantee outcomes, but if we have guaranteed opportunities and you make the most of them, that's all you can ask for in this world. So when you're given stuff, you need to be able to give back, and that's where it's I've been blessed in that regard.
When you retire from this job, is there another job?
Well, I farm too, so I live on the same family farm that I was born on, and maybe we get into that later in the podcast. But yeah, growing up as the only son, I had 3 sisters, and I was the only boy. Back in the day, back in the 70s, when I grew up, Dad and I did the outside chores. So we mowed the grass, we fed the cows, worked the ground, and then when you came in the house,
the women had done.
Yeah, the meal was cooked. I can remember my dad. This is so old school, but I can remember my dad sitting there, and we were hot and sweaty, and he'd drink his iced tea, and then he would jingle the ice cubes, and then my mom would jump up
and get him some tea.
And the tea, yes, exactly. The tea would be poured, and he would be like, "Thank you," and that could not happen today. I'll tell you that right now. But that's just the way things were. And that's,
women now have their chance to go out and work on the ground if they want to, and work outside. And
yes, I bring my daughter with me. I bring my wife. Helped me the other day. Remy had some friends over. I was doing some things. I don't know if I was filling a water trough or filling the wood burner with some. Well, and it's been dry lately, and the rail ran dry, and so I had to get my wife to help me throw the water tank in the back of the truck. We ran up to Prairie Town, got some water, filled the well. You know, we were out of water for
How many
few
acres?
hours.
How big's the farm?
We farm about 350 acres.
Wow.
So yeah, my dad said it's enough to keep me out of the tavern, and that's not 100% true because we got a pretty good tavern in Prairie Town, and they have really good food. But it between the job that I have and when I got out of high school, all I wanted to do was farm. I just wanted to be a full-time farmer. But my dad said there's not enough acres here. There's not enough income for two incomes. So he said, get you a job that allows you to farm on the side. And so I was fortunate enough. I listened to him, and education gave me, my 3 reasons I went into education: June, July, and August. I had my summers off, and I was able to farm, and loved every second of it. And then I went into administration.
Rob, I'm still trying to get my arms around farming, running for a political position, and working the superintendent or the big superintendent job. How did you have time to live?
Well, it's priorities, and I've got a lot of help. I've got a great family. My son and my daughter and my wife are very helpful. I've got sisters that help me out. Their kids all come out and help whenever I need help. Every one of my nieces and nephews have been out there baling hay in the summer. They can tell you stories of that. It's just it goes back to how you were raised. When you don't know anything different, when you know about work and that's expected of you, that's what you do. And you don't complain, you don't gripe about it. You just go about getting a job. You don't get it all done in one day. You don't. And you have to prioritize. Sometimes you have to make time for this and drop this. But what I've learned the older I get, I drop things for my kids' sporting events. I drop things for the important things in life. And I try to make time. I prioritize those over work, over things that if I can put them off another day, I will do that. But I've got great neighbors. We're very fortunate where I live I'm on the north end of Edwardsville School District. We're about a mile from Macoupin County, but we're in Madison County. And I've been blessed with great neighbors that help. If they get done with harvest first and they see I'm still trying to get the crop combined, they'll bring over a tractor or a wagon and let it sit there and say, "Here, we'll help you out." And it's just
that happens.
It is, and it's.
I don't think most people understand that unless they farmed.
Right, and when you've got, we're a pocket here in the Metro East of folks who were lucky enough to have off-farm jobs and still keep the farm small. A lot of Central Illinois. When I taught at Litchfield, I only had 2 kids that lived actually on farms. The rest of them were city kids that were in agriculture, and it was great. We had a great program, but actual farm kids, I had 2 because the farms had grown so big, and bought out the neighbors that it's kind of that's the way agriculture's gone. Get big or get out. But in pockets around Chicago or around Peoria or around Springfield and here in Metro East area, we have areas that you could have a farm and have a job off the farm. And a lot of guys do it. A lot of my neighbors worked at the steel mill, and they'd come home and farm all night and go back to the steel mill. And it's just the way it was. And when they were able to retire and become quote unquote full-time farmers, it was still a hard job. It was still a work, but it wasn't. It was almost like vacation. Almost like it was retired, but he was only doing one job. But a lot of those folks have lived a ripe old age, and they all know what it's like to be young and trying to work a job and farm and do your kids' activities. So they'll help you out whenever they can. And it's kind of getting less and less in the community as society changes and times change. But those folks grew up in an era where just a generation or 2 before that, they were all had threshing parties and they were all helping each other with harvest, and that kind of a mentality was strong, and it's a sense of community, and that's all how they were raised as well.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
This is the Metro East Sports Podcast. So from a sports and a co-curricular perspective, and I like it that you and I were talking for a second off mic, and you insisted on the term co-curricular, which is a term that I've insisted on before, because that term implies that sports and clubs like the FFA are not extracurricular. They're not in addition to the curriculum. They are part of the curriculum, implied and integral. In your job, what is your role in terms of sports and other co-curricular activities?
Well, I'm gonna combine them for a second, and then I'll split them apart. When I talk about sports or co-curricular activities or extracurricular, whatever you want to name them, the co-curricular is what I've always gone with, because you're enhancing the lessons you've taught in a classroom, and you're expanding on them, and a lot of times in real world, real world experiences. So I always told everybody I liken co-curricular activities or sports to the songs you sing in church, right? I can sing you a song that I learned when I was 5 years old. I can sing that song, and that's what extracurricular activities are. They stick with you, right? I can't tell you what the sermon was last week. That's some of the lessons that I was taught in school. I can't tell you what some of the lessons I learned were, but the songs stick with me. I can sing songs that will inspire me or keep me motivated, and that's what I look at. That's the way I look at extracurriculars or sporting events. It's just what keeps you going through the day, and it gives you something to look forward to. From my job right now, I promote the heck out of FFA. I was an ag teacher for 18 years. FFA was a constant throughout that thing. And if you know anything about FFA, there's a competition every week, and the ag teachers are taking teams somewhere to compete every week. And sporting events are much similar. You've got those events you look forward to. Football, Friday nights, right? You look forward to all week. Basketball's a couple nights, maybe 3 nights a week. Soccer, maybe 2 nights a week. But those game days, game nights, you all know the feeling. You know what it's like. As parents, I look forward to it more as a parent almost than I did as a kid. When I was a kid, I was excited. I couldn't wait to put the uniform on. But at the same time, I'm even more excited now as you know, a parent. But as an administrator, that was a hard part for me. I missed that when I left the classroom, because I coached bass fishing. Right, I had Luke here with my bass fishing on my team for a little while I was in administration. Before that, I coached girls soccer, boys soccer, and girls 8th grade basketball. Right. So when you start at Litchfield, I was the girls 8th grade basketball. When they hired me, they said, we have a coaching job. Would you take that? I want a job. Yes, I'll do anything. And so I was an 8th grade girls basketball coach. I may have won 1 game. We did not do too great. Then the next year they started soccer, and I played 2 years of soccer at a D3 school. And so I knew a little bit about soccer. And if you know the evolution of soccer 20, 30 years ago, if you had kicked a soccer ball, they could make you coach right now. Now it's such, like you talk to Mark Heiderscheid, it's a science. That Mark is such a cerebral person, and just to have a conversation with him, especially about soccer, it gets in depth and intense. Wasn't always that way, and I'm a prime example of that. But I had great athletes at Litchfield. I had a very successful boys season. We had a very good girls season. Then I went to Staunton and was a girls coach there for a while, and then started having kids of my own. And between the FFA, the farming, the coaching, everything, my wife came to me and she said, "You got to make a choice. You can raise your kids, or you can raise everybody else's kids." And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
I bet.
And so I'm like, I got to raise my kids, you know? So then I would coach my boys' baseball team, girls' basketball team. And we're fortunate. We have a little Lutheran school in Prairie Town there, St. Peter's, and we got a great gym. We've got a great, the couple generations where they had the foresight to build that gym. And I hope we'll get a chance to talk about that. I want to talk about all of the tremendous athletes that have came out of Prairie Town and Midway in that area of the northern area, because we've had some, and a lot of it's due to that gymnasium right there at our little Lutheran church and school right there. But we've had, just when the weather's like it is right now, you can go in there and there's a basketball game, go pick up basketball game going on all the time. And it's just, it's that's what I did. I focused on my kids and I enjoyed the heck out of it. So it's been the bass fishing team when Luke and my boy Bobby were on that, and the kids that we had on there, that we had some good times, and I was just so proud. 2 years after I stepped down, when Ben, his dad, took over, and they won the sectional. I was beaming with pride on that one. I was so proud of you guys. That was incredible, and that's the kind of success that I want, because whatever the competition is, it's about being the best you can be, and that competition is what lessons you're going to take with you in life. And we've all taken them with us in life. This podcast is a prime example. You're a driven individual who wants to promote our area and promote sports and all the great athletes that we have here. And we have a ton, and they deserve to be promoted. And that's what it's about. You're driven. You've got that competition. You want to be the best.
So I sense obviously your passion for co-curricular activities. And so what are you doing to support those? Are you helping schools secure state funding? Are you providing leadership? Are you? Well,
basically, I have had I want to say a pro athletic stance my whole time in office. I do meet with the athletic directors. We have, I call them jam sessions. The jam is an acronym for job alike meetings. That's what they were called before I was in office. But I call them jam sessions. So we have the principals together every so often. We have the directors of maintenance together. That's one of my favorite meetings, because those folks know what's going on. And if it comes to athletic fields and facilities, they're going to be the ones that have the answers. When I brought the athletic directors together, my goal was to try to see what kind of other activities that we could, maybe sponsor as the Regional Office of Education. Right now, the ROE, we sponsor the county cross country meets, county track meets, and the county golf meets, golf tournament. So we buy awards for those, we sponsor them, we pay for those events, and it's great. But I also would like to have a county bass fishing tournament. The athletic directors told me maybe we could have a county bowling tournament. I've always been jealous of Macoupin County. Macoupin County's basketball tournaments they've been going on for over 100 years. It's tremendous history there, and the rivalries that you have between the Carlinvilles and the Stauntons and the Gillespies and the Mount Olives and Northwestern, Southwestern, all of those schools. They're fortunate in Macoupin County. They have the right size schools. They have the right numbers of schools. They've been able to have those tournaments and go on. I don't know that we could have something like that in Madison County, because just the size difference in the schools. But a bowling tournament, very doable. Fishing tournament, very doable. And with the success that Highlands had in their bass fishing community, like tremendous opportunities. Silver Lake, you could do something like that countywide. So I look for opportunities to try to enhance what we've got. I work with the athletic directors. One of my goals, and it's kind of I don't mean to bring us down, but it's disappointing to me, because when you get into office, you want to accomplish all your goals. It doesn't always happen. One of the things that I've been striving for about 4 or 5 years is to try to bring a dome to our area. I went to the athletic directors. I said, I would like to have a field house that we could all share and work together to make work, and it'd be great for the community, great for the area. It hasn't happened. We've had a couple locations identified. We've been very close. I've had some investors that have been very interested. It just, for some reason, COVID hit, of course, but for whatever reason, it hasn't came to fruition. I still haven't given up on that dream. I'm hopeful in the near future we're going to get it. Springfield just had one. Springfield just got one done. So they had their municipalities came in. It's going to have to be some kind of a joint venture, private and public partnership. Those are not always the easiest to create, especially when you have when you've got municipalities or county boards that are more conservative nature. They're not always wanting to invest like that. Sometimes you've got folks in the private sector that want more control than they need. So we've talked with, there was an outfit from the side of the river that was really looking hard at Collinsville, Wood River, 2 of the locations they were looking at, just never came to fruition. And so, like I said, not giving up on that, but it is kind of one of my disappointments that we haven't got that done. But those are the kind of things that I look for. I look for synergies that we can all work together as the 13 school districts in Madison County to make ourselves better. And I just thought a field house or a dome stadium of some sort would be a great facility and a great opportunity to, give our athletes another leg up on the competition.
So that's one goal that you didn't reach, one thing that you're still working on, but you got a lot that you've gotten done too. You've got a lot that you're proud of during your long tenure as the regional superintendent of school. What's at the top of that list? What are the things that you want people to remember? Hey, Rob Worden got these things done as the regional superintendent of school.
You know, that's a great question. I had not really even thought about that.
That's what I do. I ask questions.
I try to be be humble and not brag as much as I just. My dad always said nobody likes a braggart, and that's how you were raised. And so
I agree, but you've done certain things that you got to be proud of. What are those things?
I tell you what, I feel that our leadership through the COVID crisis was a big factor. And if you remember back to that time, whether it was sporting events or whether it was the every day at school, whether we were remote, whether we were in person, there were so many unknowns that we didn't, it was all brand new to us. So to navigate that and try to bring some common sense into the conversation along with trying to settle people's fears, which were legitimate, it was a very complex time and a very difficult time. We had I went to the office every day. Not always fully staffed because we had schedules where we worked out stuff, but I was proud of the fact that I did go into the office every day, and I was working hard to make sure that we were providing information to our school districts at that time, because that was the thing. The information, if you remember, was changing every day, and the news. I worked very closely with the health departments, who unfortunately now seem to be taking a hit in their credibility post-COVID, and I hate to see that because those folks were trying to do what's right, and everything about the whole situation was just unknown. We had too many unknowns. And then once we started seeing things, and we were unique here in Madison County, we had a basically a three-way split. So if you were on the eastern side of the county, Highland and Triad and that neck of the woods, they were kind of like, we're going to school. We're not going to worry about it. We're going to school. We'll deal with the consequences. The middle part geographically of the county was kind of like, let's go hybrid. Let's go A schedule, B schedule. Let's kind of do. They danced around and tried to do that. And then the western part of the county was kind of like, we're staying home. We're going remote fully. And so as the situation progressed, we saw what was working, and we were able to bring kids back. And I think that was one takeaway that we learned from that whole situation is in-person learning is the best option for students. So if we can get that if I can count that as kind of a feather in my cap, the way that we led through there, we were able to get teachers vaccinated, and that was an eye opener to me, because if you remember back when we had mass vaccinations down at Collinsville, and my phone was ringing off the hook. There were people wanting to jump in line, trying to figure out who's going to go first, who's going to get to this and that, and I just said we're going by birth date. So whoever's the oldest one gets their shots first. It's the only fair way of dealing with it. And the superintendents were all like arguing this and that. Like, we need to come with that. I said, guys, this is the only fair way to do it. I've looked at every angle, and I've put myself in your shoes. We have to do that. So we organized the schedule. We got the work with the health department. We had everything lined up. And then about 50% of the people did not want the vaccine. And I'm like, that's an eye opener, because these are educated people who have trusted the science, and they're saying, hold on, I don't think it's proven yet. It was right at we had about 10,000 folks we were trying to give out shots for. It was about 5,000 that said.
Okay, so hang on a second. So I'm not the most political guy, but what you're saying right now almost doesn't line up with your party. True or false? Like it became a very politicized.
Yeah, my
thing.
party was very, very much. They were split down the middle too at the first. They were
okay.
Like not. Now they're pretty much anti-vax, anti-mask. That became, in my eyes, because they saw that the science was being proven,
manipulated.
The science was being proven, and then it wasn't being released. So they saw that kids weren't the ones that were suffering the worst. The worst were the older people. So when we were putting restrictions on kids and keeping them out of schools, they became frustrated.
Okay.
And so
Like, I'm not trying. Like, I wasn't taking a side. I was
but the vaccines, like, if you get this vaccine, you're good. Well, need a booster. Now you're good. Oh, wait, we need a third booster, fourth booster. People are like, hang on a second now. Where is this going? And that led to mistrust of the vaccine folks. Because if you remember back, like the federal government, like, and again, I'm trying not to get political, but the federal government pushed it very fast through. And there were folks that said, hold on, let's wait a second here. I want it to be tested. Because before COVID, it was a 7-year process to get approval from the FDA. COVID hit, now we're rushing medicines out in 1 year. And that gave people pause. And I respected that pause. And I was always of the camp that I don't think you should be forced to get it. You know, and I was, when I was running in the middle of this, I was asked, I went to a teachers union, meet the candidate night, and they asked me, and they were blatantly like about political, because it's political. And they're like, wait a second, your party, there's people in your party that are trying to ban books. How do you feel about that? I said, that's un-American. I don't believe in banning books. I said, there's two things right now that remind me of 1940s Germany, and it's one from people that are trying to ban books, and the other side are requiring papers. And that's the Democrats that were trying to make you have a paper to get in any place. If you had a vaccine, you were okay. You could go places. Remember those days? And I basically put that out there. I'm like, I think there's both sides that are using whatever kind of manipulation that they can to try to control people, and that's never good. I think I'm all for people making their own decisions, educated decisions. I want you to take and get the facts, and please be smart about your decisions. But make your own decisions. Make good decisions.
Let's talk about you now.
Yep.
Born and bred and currently lives, only left the Metro East for a short time to live in Middle Illinois, correct?
Yep.
Born where?
Born in Prairie Town, mile north of Prairie Town. I'm on the same farm that I was born and raised on.
And what's is it still Prairie Town, or is it another town?
Oh, I'm Prairie Town. The name of our farm is Mile North Farms because we're a mile north of Prairie Town, but it's I guess you could say we're suburban Prairie Town. I'm not in Prairie Town proper. I'm not within the city limits.
Suburban Prairie Town.
But I'm suburban Prairie Town. Yeah. So our farm is a mile north of town, and you go another mile north of our farm, and you're in Macoupin County. So the north end of our school, I'm on the north end of Edwardsville School District. That's where I was born and raised. That's where I went to Edwardsville High School. Across from the north end of our farm is Bunker Hill School District, right across the street. The next road over on Klondike Road is Staunton School District. So we were up there in a little pocket where we were able to, go to Edwardsville School District. Rode a bus for an hour each way. It was a long bus ride. So and now my mom, I was born to Bob and Amelia Worden, and they were both. My dad graduated high school in Edwardsville in 1944. My mom was the receptionist at the Edwardsville High School for a long time. She retired in 1994. They were season ticket holders for in the 60s and 70s for the basketball games. If you remember back in the day, you had to be a season ticket holder to get your seats, and it was packed. And I grew up. My sisters, one of them, Debbie, was a cheerleader. Terry was the drum major in the band, and so we went to football games, went to basketball games. I grew up watching sports, trying to play sports as much as I could. And I think my dad had a big role in that because going to school in the 40s, and he said, when you graduate in 44, all you're worried about is draft.
World
War II. And that's all that there weren't a lot of sports at that time. You came home, you did the chores, and then you went to school the next day. And when you graduated, your number got drafted. He ended up at this is a great story.
Tough time to be alive.
Yeah. I mean,
tough time to be in high school.
Because think about their childhood was the 30s. That was the Depression. So they grew up in the 30s with hardly anything, just getting by. And then all of a sudden you're in high school, now there's a war on, and you don't know if you're going as soon as you graduate. It's just he always told the story because he was 1944, tail end of the war. He was trained, and then he was on a boat headed over to Germany, and the Germans surrendered. So they turned the boat around. He went back to Texas, was trained for the South Pacific, and he was on a boat over when they dropped the bomb and the Japanese surrendered. So he always told everybody they heard he was coming. That's what he used to tell. They heard I was coming, so they just. But he was very fortunate.
He's lucky.
And I think I wouldn't be here if they would have had chances are I wouldn't be here if they wouldn't have had that drop the bomb and ended the war. So I always look at history a little bit through those eyes as just for my fortunate. He born in 26, graduated in 44, and loved every minute of high school sports that he would witness. He told stories about going to the 1954 state championship game in Champaign. We went, again, it was at 94, I think, when the Tigers were back up. So my dad and I and my sister drove up to Champaign, and because I think that was the first time that the Edwardsville Tigers basketball team had been there since the 50s. So he was a good fan of all the sports, but football and basketball mainly, and just had a great opportunity to, when I started, I came through, I played football, basketball, and track in junior high. Mr. Zupanzi, Mr. Evans had a great opportunity to play for them, but I was 5'2" and under 100 pounds, so I didn't get a lot of playing time, but I did have fun. I enjoyed every minute of it. Played freshman football for Babe Stallhut and Dennis DeToy, and
Wow,
had a great experience there. But my friends were playing soccer at the time, and I wanted my sophomore year. I tried out for the soccer team, and I made it. So
how much soccer had you played previously?
I had not played any.
None.
I had not played any. I had not. I had in PE. I should say in PE. But at Hamill School, where I went to school, at lunch recess, you had two separate camps. You had the kids that played soccer over here, and the kids that played football. I was always on the football side. I loved football. But I wasn't getting the playing time, and I wasn't big enough. So my dad's like, you need to go out for soccer. You can run. And basically, I had
Who was the coach?
It was Mr. He was a Spanish teacher, Senor Dwyer. And then Joe Szymanski was my JV coach. He had my sisters. I think he liked my sisters. So Joe, and I just saw him at one of Remy's football games, flag football games. He still looks great. I think he liked my sister, Terry, so I think it's why he kept me on the team. But I had wrestled my freshman year, and I was tough. I just ran and hustled. I'd kick the ball. So I was a defender, and I'd knock people over if I needed it. And I loved every minute of it. But I wasn't good enough my junior year. When I had to make it to varsity, I got cut. So I didn't do anything. Ran cross country my senior year to get in shape for wrestling. My freshman year, and this is just how life works out. I had Babe Stallhut for my PE teacher. And Babe was the wrestling coach. And he came up to me and said, "You're going out for basketball?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm going out for basketball. I made it 7th grade. I made it 8th grade. I'll make it in high school. You want to bet on it?" I said, "Yeah, I'll bet." "How much you want to bet?" He said, "I'll buy you a pizza." He says, "If you make the team, I'll buy you pizza. If you don't make the team, you got to come wrestle for me." He loved recruiting farm kids. Every farm kid, if he knew you were a farm kid, because he was a farm kid. He was a farm kid who grew up between Hamill and Werden out there, and he had his own training regiment. My dad would he'd see him pulling a wagon down the middle of the road. Babe made it to state his senior year from his own work ethic, his own regiment, his own training regiment. So my dad knew him through the farm community, knew his dad, and so he's like, "You need whatever Coach Stallhut says, you do." Okay. So I made this bet, and I got cut. And I was crying. I was at home. I was in tears. Basketball, man. That's the sport. Yeah, I can't wait to be on that big court. And then I thought, oh no.
Now you got to wrestle.
Now I got to wrestle. So I went out to wrestling and got the crap knocked out of me, but I loved it. And at the moment, I can tell you what pointed it to me. It was Coach Stallhut had freshman wrestling tournaments. So you get the kids involved. You can't have a team that just practices all the time. He had the freshman wrestling tournament, and the brackets worked out where I had to wrestle in. So I had an extra match. I said, "Coach, why do I have?" He says, "You need it. Don't ask questions. You need as many matches as you can get." Well, I won that, and I made my way through, and I won the whole tournament, and I got to keep that bracket. I still have the bracket. I have 8 or 10 brackets. I gave a speech at Triad High School 2 years ago at their career fair for the whole high school. I had my JV medal. I was so proud of that JV first place medal from a JV Triad medal. But that's what sports do to kids, whatever level it is. When you have success, it just breeds more success. It makes you want to go out and do it more. I can't tell you how many times being a wrestler helped me later in life, whether maybe it was in a bar fight, maybe it was in some kind of an issue where you had a float trip one time. I remember some kids starting some crap. It was a life-changing experience when I lost that bet. And so Coach Stollett was always one of my favorites. I sent a nice letter in when I nominated him for the Hall of Fame because I really felt that he deserved to be in there.
Did you see the film?
I did.
His film was just amazing.
And I said in that letter, he was the coach for the average athlete that was needed to make the good athletes better. Because the good athletes, if you have talent and work ethic, you're going to be good. You're going to go places. But the average kid, Coach bragged about never cutting a kid. How can you teach 35 years, never cut a kid? He coached track, football, wrestling. Never had to cut a kid. What a great life. That's hard when you get cut. I've been cut several times from teams. It's heartbreaking. It is hard, but it shapes you. It molds you, and it makes you a better person. You don't always see it right away, but down the road, you realize that's why that happened. But Coach was one of my favorites, and just I was average. This is how average I was. I was average. My record, my senior year, 21 wins, 20 losses, 1 tie. It don't get much more average than that. But I loved every minute of it. And I had a great senior year, and we made it. We were the first team to win regionals at Edwardsville High School. I think I don't know if it's still up there or not. There's so many regional plaques that they're not as, I don't know if they get displayed as much anymore, but my picture's still in the wrestling center. Every time I walk in there, I show my kids, and they're like, roll their eyes, and they're like, yeah, we see you, Dad. You were skinny. I wrestled 112 pounds. Not going to tell you how many pounds I've put on since then, but I put on quite a few pounds. My freshman year was 112, 126. My sophomore, junior year is 132. My senior year, and then my freshman year in college, I wrestled at 142.
Where?
At Blackburn, up the road. Played soccer for there for 2 years. At college, again, hadn't played since my sophomore year, but went out for the team. And
what years were you at Blackburn?
I was there from 88 to 90. And so then I transferred to Carbondale because they didn't have agriculture at Blackburn. So I transferred down to Carbondale to get into agriculture. And again, loved every minute of it. I love the field of agriculture. I love it.
You just missed me on the soccer field at Blackburn. I played for Principia.
Yeah, we played that. They had a beautiful campus.
For a couple years in soccer, and we lost a heartbreaker to Blackburn.
Yeah, there was a good competition. There was a good rivalry there.
Yeah.
They were very evenly matched. But you guys had a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good story. The Metro East in your lifetime. It's not the same. It's changed a lot.
Nothing's the same, Dave. Society's changed. The world's changed. We're trying to do an education is changing every day. We're trying to prepare kids for jobs that we don't even know what they're out there, what they're going to be in the future. AI is changing the whole world. Metro East, in my lifetime, the demographic change just like as far as population wise, the shift that you've seen. Edwardsville, where we're sitting right here, this was a wooded area. I mean,
25 years ago.
Yeah, there was an overpass right out here that I remember you had to go over the railroad track before you got out to Center Grove Road. All of this area, the growth that we've seen here in this Metro East area, it's shifted. We have some communities that are not as big. They've seen population decline. It's unfortunate, but we've seen certain areas that we've grown up and have boomed. We've been very fortunate. We've had good leadership, and I'm going to give credit to my brother-in-law, Gary Niebuhr, who was the mayor here. He had a foresight to lay out a lot of things in this town, and he loved this town like it was his own farm. Like he knew every square inch of it. He drove around. He'd see potholes. He'd call people like, "Get this pothole fixed. It needs to be done, taken care of." He loved this town, and he really was a great ambassador for this town. And I'm going to say Ed Hightower did a lot for this school district and this town too. And I'm sure both those folks have people that love them and don't love them, but at the same time, you have to give credit for the foresight that was in that era of what made this town have the opportunity to grow to what it is today. And so we're still seeing benefits of all of what the planning was back 20 years ago. So all of those things come into play. Of course, we've had different industries move in and out of the Metro East area. That's unfortunate. But one of the things that I do, again, getting back to my regional superintendent hat, is I recognize all the IHSA state champions in front of this county board. And I am very proud of the whole county, and as far as the whole Metro East area, especially Madison County, of the state champions that we have. We've had some successful programs. I look at Triad, I look at and I look at all of them. I look at Granite, I look at Edwardsville, Alton's girls basketball team last year didn't make it to state champions, but they were top notch
finalists.
Yeah, and Collinsville a few years back when COVID hit, they were the state champ. They were going to be state champs. That breaks my heart for Darren. And
Darren's still brokenhearted over that.
Oh, that breaks my heart. And that's some of the things you learn from life too, about life from sports, is certain things you got to deal with, and they don't leave you; they stick with you for life. And so the Metro East itself has really, like I said, it's changed. I'm going to say for the better in our neck of the woods. I still have great neighbors. I tell everybody we're in an area where I'm at where I can still see the stars at night. So I got the best of both worlds. If I want to go to St. Louis for a Cardinals game, or if I want to go to a symphony concert, or I want to go to see a comedian, it's 45 minutes to an hour drive. I can get over there. If I want to be out in the country and feeding my cows, I got that too. I'm very fortunate, and that's the Metro East. We're a little bit suburban, a little bit country, and we get along. We do the best we can to make things work for each other.
Man, time has flown by listening to you talk about the Metro East and your personal story and all the stuff you do in your great office. But, man, I really want to thank you for coming by, Rob. Is there anything we left out?
I did. I left a lot. I had 3 pages of notes here, Dave. I didn't get to all of it. But at the risk of inviting myself back, I'd come back anytime. Anytime. I love what you're doing here. I love you giving me the opportunity to tell my story and promote the area, promote the students of Madison County. I just want to thank you for giving me that opportunity, and I'll come back anytime you want me to.
Well, it was great. It was great to have you, and a lot of the guests we have them on again and again because and I learn, every time they come on, like Pyle, amongst others.
That's what I wanted to talk. I was going to start with. I was going to tell you, I'm not Tom Pyle, but I did have him for a teacher, so I learned some stuff from Tom Pyle. But when I was on your last podcast, this is so wild. This is how the world works. I think you had Steve Porter on here, and you were talking about Alton,
Coach Wigger,
and Coach Neil Schmelzel, who was the cross country coach that won the first state championship, I believe, at Alton High School. And his runners ran barefoot.
Cross country, yep.
Yeah, cross country. And Neil was my brother-in-law's dad. So my sister Terry married John Schmelzel. Neil Schmelzel was the principal here at Edwardsville from 1970 to 1980.
How about that? And
so when he told that story, it just made me smile because I'm like, dang it, that's what I was wanting. I was going to tell that story too. But all of the we're here in the Metro East. We're almost like a family.
Yeah.
We're only two. You got to be very careful what you say about other people because it could be related to them.
For sure.
Could be best friends to them. So we're almost like a family here in the Metro
Especially
East.
Somebody like you who has lived his entire life here, and me. I lived in Springfield for a couple of years, but other than that, I lived in St. Louis for a few years. But it's been 60 years basically in the Metro East.
And how many people do you know? Gary Niebuhr
Right.
sold the gym bag to your in-laws.
How about that?
We got a connection there. It's just mind blowing. All those little.
Yeah.
I forgot he owned the gym bag. I remember that now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So your story is incredible. I'd love to hear more.
Yeah.
Anytime. It's such a pleasure.
You got to come back for sure. All right. Thank you all for listening to the Metro East Sports Podcast presented by Little Caesars Pizza. And big thanks to KP. Good to see you again. And
Thank
Rob
you.
Worden, Regional Superintendent of Schools, man. It was really was a pleasure talking to you. And you definitely need to come back for sure soon.
Anytime.
And for partners, Cassens, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, Keller Williams Marquee, the Blasting Game Group, Dazzling Decor and More, Integrity Spine and Joint Center, Front Office, Fiduciary Network, Oakbrook Golf Club, Viviano Heating and Air Conditioning, Play It Again Sports Edwardsville, and Dazzling Decor and More. And for my teammates, Kayla Kohlberg, Luke Slemmer, Kala Espenschied, thank you for listening to the Metro East Sports Podcast, talking all things sports in the Metro East.